This video is made possible by NordVPN. Start protecting your internet experience today with 75% off a 3-year plan using the code VisualPolitik with a K at nordvpn.com/VisualPolitik, and let's get into it. Pollution in cities, traffic, noise, cars, fumes, they're everywhere. They are the latest problems in the spotlight, and it's understandable because the health effects of these problems are huge. They're linked to respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, stress, cancer, even mental health problems. Dear viewers, living in highly congested and polluted cities can be harmful to us. It's true that cities have lots of advantages, but they can also pose very serious inconveniences if they are not managed correctly. You see, according to the World Health Organization, every year more than 4 million people in the world die due to air pollution. Of course, it's not all from traffic. Industry and energy production are also highly responsible. However, traffic is the most worrying source because we live with it. It's all around us every day. It's in the streets we walk down. It's by our apartment buildings. It's just everywhere. And it follows logically that as the urban population grows, so does the number of cars circulating. The problem, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. This is especially true in the large metropolises of developing countries. Take, for example, Mexico. Since the 1900s, the number of cars in Mexican cities has almost quadrupled. Now, this doesn't only happen there, not at all, in fact. It's a global trend. In recent decades, both the population and the number of vehicles in cities has skyrocketed. But now politics has finally turned its attention towards this problem. London, Madrid, Beijing, Singapore, New York, more and more cities across the globe are implementing measures to limit traffic and improve the air quality and habitability of their cities. And with improved cities, of course, comes improved health for the residents. We're talking about restrictions that aim to balance the coexistence of cars and people. But now, what do these restrictions involve? Are they all the same, or are some models more effective than others for reducing traffic and improving cities? Also, what strategies have seen the most success? Well, let's see.
Measures for everyone.
Let us not kid ourselves. It doesn't matter if the government is progressive, liberal, or conservative. Politicians of all kinds are implementing strategies to reduce traffic in cities. But not all measures are equal, not at all. There's a huge inventory of restrictions of all sorts. Classification of vehicles by emissions, diesel vehicle ban, congestion or toll rates, increasing car registration taxes, limiting the number of new car registrations, alternating odd and even license plates. It goes on. Basically, they've come up with everything. Without looking any further than Europe, one city has become the benchmark on restricting circulation in the urban center.
Más vida y menos humos.
Por mucho que lo quieran empañar, es un éxito. El Madrid Central funciona. Madrid es además la primera ciudad de España, la segunda de Europa y la 11 del mundo, donde más kilómetros se recorren en transporte público.
Madrid, Spain's capital, is already world famous for having launched one of the most restrictive car policies in its city center. Named Central Madrid, the city has prohibited old vehicles that don't have an environmental label issued by the General Traffic Directorate from accessing a large part of the urban center. And not only that, unless you live in the center itself, even if your car has an environmental label, if it isn't hybrid or electric, you'll only gain limited access to the center. However, this system has 3 main drawbacks. First, it's a very rigid system. Limiting the use of vehicles, regardless of why they want to access the area, could have undesirable economic effects. For example, imagine that a person with a not-so-new car wants to access the area to visit an office and do some paperwork. He simply wouldn't be able to. Second, in the long term, it doesn't really solve the traffic problem. As the car park fills with hybrid cars, which seems to be happening, traffic problems will return. And thirdly, it doesn't tax the negative externality of pollution or generate resources for the city council to invest in alternatives such as public transport. To avoid all of these inconveniences, London, the city with the worst air in Europe, has opted for what is known as a congestion fee. It consists basically of making you pay a specific amount to enter the restricted central area. Milan does something similar, where even the residents have to pay to enter Zone C. Yes, you heard that right. You need to pay to be able to drive your car to your own home. But hold on a second. Even though Europe is the most car-restrictive continent, restrictions aren't only a European matter. Let's cross the pond and visit New York, the Big Apple. In Manhattan, a congestion fee system is about to be implemented and it's generating a lot of talk. It should be ready by 2021 and it could change New York forever. Yes, the heart of the Big Apple is one of the most vibrant and busy places in the world, but it's also one of the most congested and noisy due to traffic. Now, this new regulation, it could change all of that. As you can see, this new regulation will affect a very, very large area, which extends from Battery Park to Central Park. Can you imagine just half of Fifth Avenue being empty? But how much will it cost to enter? Well, folks, it hasn't been set yet, but it's believed it's going to be between $10 and $15 per entry. Question is now, is it gonna work? And it depends. As revenue collection, sure, absolutely. But to limit pollution and congestion, only time's going to tell. But currently, people have their doubts. First, because of the United States' car culture, and because of all the problems that the public transport system has in the city. And secondly, because just with taxis, Uber vehicles, and the average income of Manhattan drivers, results may not be very promising. I guess it'll all depend on how large or small the toll will be. But the United States is not the only country which has a deep-rooted car culture. The Chinese, who have terrible pollution, also love to get around by car, and this has led to the implementation of rather restrictive measures, some of which are really rather curious. For example, there's Shanghai, China's economic capital. We're talking about a place that has quickly become a large city full of office and residential skyscrapers. And of course, this economic boom has led to a huge explosion in car sales. This is a phenomenon that has spread throughout the rest of China. The fact is that to limit traffic and curb congestion and pollution in Shanghai, they have established a system of monthly license plate auctions. The system has been in force since the year 2000, and the truth is, the results aren't that bad. Of course, as license plates are limited to prevent an exorbitant increase in the number of vehicles, they can usually be priced around $15,000, often being more expensive than the cars being registered. So why are they so expensive? Well, there's only one explanation, and that's that it's really hard to get one. For example, in one of the wildest auctions, 6,460 license plates were offered and 2.8 million people bid for them. It's almost easier to win the lottery. And speaking of lotteries, in the Chinese capital, Beijing, they've established an actual license plate lottery. See, with this lottery system, the city offers a certain number of license plates every year and gives them out randomly and for free. Licenses are, in theory, non-transferable, but in practice a huge black market has emerged. The system is peculiar because it doesn't generate economic benefits for the city council, as it does in Shanghai, which uses the money obtained in the auctions to improve roads or public transport. For its part, Guangzhou and 3 other major Chinese cities have opted for a hybrid model. One part is auctions and another is drawn. Basically, different cities have different models. But at this point, you might be wondering, out of all of these measures, which one is the most appropriate? Which is the most effective? And which should we bet on? Well, I'm sorry to say that there's no exact answer, because it depends on each case. Now, one place has combined several measures, and it seems to be doing really rather well.
In Singapore, supply and demand rule.
You heard that right. This microstate, of which we've already spoken in another video, has done things differently. How? Well, the secret lies in the congestion fee. And you might be thinking, well, you already talked about that in London's case and also in the case of New York. And yes, that's true, but Singapore's rate is different. Allow me to explain. Singapore has an electronic toll network called ERP. This network monitors traffic and attentively, this is the key, it sets the price of tolls based on traffic congestion. It's like a supply and demand system. The supply is the roads of Singapore and the demand is traffic. The more drivers there are circulating the city, the more expensive the rate is going to be. Therefore, prices change every hour and every half hour, becoming more expensive during peak hours. It makes a lot of sense, right? The system discourages the use of private vehicles traveling without arbitrarily limiting the number of vehicles. If you want to pay, you are free to go. Thus, traffic is regulated and congestion is avoided through a price system. Because, and this is important, traffic jams have a huge economic cost on cities, a cost that goes far beyond pollution itself and goes into things like delays, lost productivity, stress, etc. But here's a key question. Where does all the money raised with these dynamic tolls go? Well, this is where it gets quite interesting. It's reinvested in Singapore's public transport system, which is already excellent. In fact, it's one of the best in the world. Which, if you think about it, leads to a double disincentive to use the car. You have to pay, and you also have an increasingly better public transport system. But really, how effective is this system? How has the congestion fee affected Singapore's traffic? Well, let's have a look at some data. Check this out. The ALS manual system was implemented in 1975, and it's the precursor to the ERP. This system required you to pay for accreditation to circulate in the restricted area. It was a success, and it decreased traffic by 44% during operational hours. This was much more than the initially planned 30%, so yes, really quite the success. It is due to this, and unsurprisingly due to technological advances, that Singaporean authorities launched the current ERP system, the automated system, which happened in 1998. Traffic in Singapore's business centre during business hours has dropped even more, by 10 to 15%. But that's not all. Additionally, another measure is applied in Singapore that may seem controversial and leave some a bit speechless. There's a 100% surcharge, or even more, just to register one's vehicle. Basically, registering your car can cost the same or more than the car itself. This, of course, discourages a lot of car purchases. Obviously, this has a lot to do with the idiosyncrasies of the place itself. Singapore is a city-state. Anyway, as you can see from this video, there are a lot of different ways that cities experiment with reducing the number of cars in their centers. But now it's your turn. Which model do you prefer? Is it arbitrary limitation or discouraging car use by hitting drivers' pockets? Maybe you prefer traffic-based systems or variable rates, unlimited registrations or auctions and lotteries. But more important than answering that question is protecting yourself with a VPN, and that's where NordVPN comes in. You ever been sitting in a cafe with some open Wi-Fi network and wanted to check your internet banking or something like that? Well, don't even think about it with a VPN because, well, you're just opening yourself up to a whole bunch of problems. So, or maybe you're a theoretical British man living abroad and you're like, gosh, I sure would love a way to watch British stuff while in that foreign country. Well, NordVPN sorts that theoretical person out. They make content available from one country available everywhere. NordVPN is super fast, so watching a video is a breeze, there's no lag whatsoever. If you ever used VPNs and thought they were slow, well, no more with NordVPN, and you can use it on all your devices very, very easily. It also works on Android, Chrome, Windows, Linux, and you can use it on 6 of your devices with just one account. I don't think even I've got 6 devices. Also, there are no logs kept like other companies based in the EU or the US. Panama is where NordVPN is based, so they don't have to keep logs at all. That's nice. Indeed, NordVPN is the only VPN to get a perfect score from PC Mag. NordVPN is offering you 75% off a 3-year plan. Just go to nordvpn.com/VisualPolitik with a K, or click the link in the description below and sign up and start protecting yourself. That's nordvpn.com/VisualPolitik and use the code VisualPolitik with a K at checkout and get started today. Thank you for watching.
And if you want to learn more about politics and hear even more of my lovely voice, you can join us at Reconsider Media. We have a podcast at reconsidermedia.com/podcast. See you there.